falling the fuck apart, you have to like try to cling to your fucking ignorance as a way to like maintain some level of dignity.
Sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so then you got fucking, this random fucking guy who I didn't know was famous until it happened, but this Aiden Ross kid who...
The chair sniffer. And if anyone doesn't know, he's a Twitch streamer who is famous for once people get out of their chairs, he gets on his knees and sticks his face into the chair. And the hotter the woman, the more he is into getting on his knees and sniffing the chair after she sits in it. That's a fact.
That's not completely normal behavior.
Yeah, Jolly,
you guys
stop
aren't
doing
that. You guys aren't doing that.
Everybody doesn't do that. I thought that was just how we act.
How you tell people goodbye?
Look this up, Aiden Ross. If you think I'm joking, this
I'm
is
looking
his
it
thing.
up right now.
Oh no, it's real life. She's not wrong.
I believe it.
You didn't know that, Matt?
I don't know who this fucking guy is.
This is Barron Trump's bestie. This is Barron Trump's little bestie.
Yeah, he sniffed Andrew Tate's chair.
Oh, it's men too. I'm sorry. It's not just women.
Oh, dude. No. You've got HPV now. Stop it.
So, anyway, but now he's complaining about having lost $10 million. Listen, bro, I don't give a fuck. But until, I guess the point is, though, until more and more and more MAGA have feel the effects of their vote, they're not going to see it. There's no amount. I completely abandoned, if anybody watches my content, I've completely abandoned any and all attempts at calling out hypocrisy, any and all attempts of, oh my God, look what Trump's doing. It's unbelievable. This is what you voted for. I'll say, look what Trump's doing, but not this is what you voted for, because you're not going to get through to them.
Exactly. Yeah. That's never
the only thing, if you are still at this point wearing your red hat, your online name is Patriot 1776.
Yes.
And the most important thing in fucking planet Earth to you is owning the libs. I have nothing to say to you, and that's okay. Like, whatever. I don't give a fuck, dude. Like, I got to focus my fire on the most immediate threat.
Yep.
And that is the resistance to what's happening. I do believe, however, that resistance must include a large swath of these people. But the catch-22 of the entire situation is that those people needed will not join said resistance until their faces have been eaten. And so that's just where we are.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
So,
one more thing, just to piggyback off you, like Matt and I talk about this, it is, and just me as a very logical thinker, like the path of least resistance to him staying in a third term. Like, don't worry about him amending the Constitution. Don't worry about this. JD Vance could be elected and he could hand it to Trump. The path of least resistance is somebody like, I don't know, Russia, the person Trump very clearly works for, starting a conflict with the U.S., just a fake one, just to claim martial law and stay in there. This is how Netanyahu is still in office right now. And there are many intelligence reports around the world that Netanyahu had been warned about October 7th. So I'm just in the path of least resistance, the easiest way. And I'm not even saying it's going to be martial law. There's going to be troops in the streets. I'm saying the easiest way for Trump to remain in office is exactly what we've seen him doing. He declares energy emergencies, healthcare emergencies, illicit substance emergencies,
but you know why he does
group
that?
emergencies. Yeah, so he has extraordinary powers.
Well, no, hang on. Let's back up, because you're not wrong, but we're skipping some steps, because what I'm about to say is basically a great segue with what you just said, because it's something important people need to pay attention to. The idea of the Overton window, right? So, like, the fact is this. When something happens, like if we the liberals say, he's going to declare a national emergency and take away your civil liberties, then he declares a national emergency, but you still have civil liberties. And then you just mentioned, then he does
so bad.
Then he does that 6, 7, 8, 9 times over. Guess what happens? You start, well, guys, it's not a big deal. He's done this before. He's done it 10 times before. Who gives a fuck?
Right.
Yeah, you're desensitized.
Exactly. So that's why he does it. So now going to the conversation of this pending martial law on April 20th. Understand, we are fucking exponentially larger than other countries. And so, like, you know, somebody recently compared to the situation in South Korea. South Korea is a country the size of the state of Indiana.
Yes.
So I need you to I need you to visualize that comparison in your brain. The state of Indiana is the same size as the country of South Korea, which is half of the Korean Peninsula. And recognize how large America is. So martial law here looks entirely different than it does in any other country.
Correct.
So my prediction, the way I see this playing out, is him implementing the Insurrection Act of 1807 on the southern border and putting federal troops on the southern border. We already have troops there, by the way. People need to realize that. But we're going to put more troops there, and we're going to successfully obtain operational security.
Yep.
Since it's completely made up and we have never lost it, we get to decide when we got it.
Right.
And so that's going to do the same desensitization process, which is how he declared martial law, put troops in the street. Nothing bad happened to Americans. In fact, this amazing thing happened for America. We got operational security at the southern border. I'm not poor no more, and I'm rich. And so, you know, then he'll do it somewhere else. Oh, well, that worked over there. We'll go over here. You do it a few times, guess what happens? Now we're desensitized to national emergencies. Now we're desensitized to Insurrection 807. Eventually, you know, we don't question these acts. And they start happening on a larger scale, more unified scale. They start happening within not just federal troops, but also within police departments who will be given immunity. This is a rollout style plan. It won't work. Martial law in America wouldn't work with, let's just put all the troops on the street tomorrow.
Yeah.
That'll never work.
Yeah.
So I guess I say all that to say this. Don't be desensitized.
Right.
Like, a lot of people had gloom and doom, and now they're like back to work and they're just doing regular stuff. And yeah, the economy sucks, and yeah, the bad shit's happening. But I mean, the world's not falling apart, but it is.
It is,
people,
though. Yeah.
People don't know it. You're just, the Overton windows just move so much.
Right.
That the gloom and doom isn't as evident as it was. Listen, nothing happening in America right now is normal or okay.
Right.
This is really, really, really bad shit.
Yeah.
Just because it might not feel in your everyday life just quite yet like the really, really bad shit that it is.
Yep.
It will.
That's
and unfortunately, I hate to say this, is going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah. That's what I've been talking about for the past, 3 or 4 weeks, when everybody finally started realizing that, oh shit, January 20th. I'm like, look, there's not going to be a nationwide martial law order. There's no way to enforce that. We don't have the United States is too big. There's no way that you can put enough people on every street in the United States of America to enforce something like that. So it would
raise alarm.
Right. Well, and it's not even that. Like, he doesn't give a shit about raising alarm because people aren't paying attention anyway. So he doesn't give a shit about that. We literally do not have the manpower to enforce every street in America type shit. So it's going to be targeted, and it's going to go after the big metropolitan cities, right? You're going to you'll see 100%. Troops in New York City. You'll see them in Boston, Philly, Atlanta, LA,
because it ties together. See,
right.
Understand that all of this has been, if this was a book, okay, the foreshadowing has been written.
Yes.
Because once he puts the troops on the southern border, and then we win victory there, by the way. Victory is coming, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's a foregone victory of a made-up war.
Mm-hmm.
So then people say, well, shit, that worked. Look at all these numbers, and it's going to be bullshit. Then he's going to say, now that we've secured the southern border, we need to put these same troops in all the cities where these immigrants have taken over, right? Now, you, me, and everybody knows that's also made up, right? But people on the right firmly believe it. Chicago's overran, fucking Aurora, Colorado overran. New York City, they're all living in expensive hotels for free and $15,000 a month in food and shit like that, right? So now he puts troops in Aurora, Colorado, in Chicago, in New York to combat these illegal aliens.
Because the sanctuary cities first.
Because we just won this great victory at the southern border by implementing this strategy. So it's not scary, guys. Relax. I'm from the government. I'm here to help you.
Right.
And then, so then you got the military in these big cities. And this, again, when you're listening to me say it or listening to Matt say it and listening to, us agree with each other, it sounds like we're a couple guys online who are drumming up some fear for clicks, views, and shock factor. And it sounds like that it's a little hyperbolic, and it sounds like that we just don't like Trump, and it sounds like a lot of stuff. But I'm here to tell you, when people are very specifically doing things and you don't take them seriously, then what is critical thinking? If I come to your house and I have, I don't know, a hammer, a nail, a fucking power saw, and a bunch of lumber, and you say, you must be here to build something. And I say, you just don't like me, do you? You're coming to these wild conclusions that I would come to your house and build something. I've done nothing. I've never built anything in your house. Just because I have this stuff doesn't mean I'm building your house. Just because I'm in your front yard with it, right? That's where we are.
Yes.
You call me a fearmonger, or call me being hyperbolic, blah, blah, blah. But this guy's literally in our front yard with lumber, power saw, hammer, and nails.
Yep.
And you're fucking calling me crazy for saying he's going to build a shed.
Yep.
Well, and let me just tell you, as a historical researcher, this has already happened recently, a couple years ago. Let me just tell you why Kristi Noem is right now in charge of Homeland Security. If you don't know, and this is the guy who was speaking at the National Mall, Norm Eason, along with a guy named Noah Bookbinder. If you don't know, they run a think tank called CREW, Citizens for Renewed Ethics and Responsibility in Washington. Basically, they started submitting FOIA requests. And Jolly's exactly right. The easiest way to get troops on U.S. soil is to have a governor give access to their National Guard. This is what Kristi Noem did. In 3 deployments, she started deploying troops to the southern border. They started submitting FOIA requests. I have read thousands of pages of these documents now. And this is the scariest part about what they did. It was millions of dollars. The South Dakotan taxpayers were like, who's paying for these troops to go do God knows what at the southern border? At first, it was taxpayer money. Then what was revealed, and the reason Trump revoked Norm Eason's security clearance and is after Noah Bookbinder and CREW in general, is because what was revealed in these FOIA requests is that a billionaire from Tennessee started giving millions and millions of dollars. Now, imagine a world where we're calling up the U.S. military, and a billionaire, if you have the cash, you now can direct the U.S. military and their actions.
Yep.
And John Thune, who is now the Speaker of the House, who learned at the feet of the most feared creature in the D.C. swamp, Mitch McConnell, was so alarmed by this. He's in email chains being like, do you understand that you are having a billionaire, calling up the American military? You need to do something about this. You need to, he wasn't saying cover up follow the money, but he's like, you cannot have a billionaire from another state funding a governor calling up the American military on U.S. soil.
Right.
And that is they're already trying it. They're already doing these little test actions. It's already happened. And that's why Trump's after Norm Eason, because he uncovered it.
Right. Yep. Listen, it's not, if you open your fucking eyes and you just believe what they say, none of this should be a surprise to anybody.
And what you see.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, I appreciate you having me up. I got to dip out.
Always, bro.
I came by because a lot of people were talking about the April 20th thing.
Yeah.
And I'm about to make a video on it. Because it's just, so many people were talking about it. But, what I guess frustrates me is that we've been talking about it.
Right.
And people are just not exactly what we're talking about. They're not believing what they hear and see.
Exactly. Yep. Don't trust your lying eyes.
Yeah. Anyway.
Jolly, before you go.
Yes, what's up?
So I don't know if you heard about it, but there's going to be a rally against fascism of veterans on April 30th at the National Mall.
There's a giant protest on April 30th. And Yep. I appreciate you telling me about it. I'm aware of it, and I plan to be there.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm going to be there too.
It's not just veterans, though. For everybody.
Yeah, no. It's all,
Yeah, so just so everybody knows, it's a massive protest April 30th. It's kind of, the idea is to continue the momentum from April 5th.
Yep.
There's one on April 19th as well. But to be fair with you, there's a bunch. So I have a calendar that shows me everything happening in D.C. And there is a protest literally every day.
Hell yeah.
And I think it's just important that people just literally get in the fucking streets.
Get out
involved.
There.
Yeah, get involved. Get out there.
Yeah.
Fucking, we the people have more power than people in power. And that just 100%. Has to be, it's got to be our continual battle cry. 100%. Thanks for having me up.
Love you, man. Take care of yourself.
Pleasure to meet you. Keep working hard, Jolly.
Hi, Lainey.
Hey. Yeah, so I put the poster in the announcements on your Discord. So that's done now. I went to the meeting last night for it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I know that there's, and I'm loving seeing this, that there's like so many, rise ups, actions happening.
It's good. So there's, big nationwide one on the 19th, the day before, the 20th, obviously, and what we are anticipating happening. And then shit's going to get real, man. I don't want anybody. It's scary shit what we're talking about. And I'm not saying it to terrify people, right? I'm not saying it to make you scared and cower down and not act. We're trying to make you all aware of what's going on. Donald Trump and his administration has been very vocal and very upfront about what their goals are, what they want to do. And everybody is like, well, even the talking pundit heads on the media is like, well, we all know what Donald Trump's like. We all know how he acts. We know that he says crazy things. It's, blah, blah, blah. But everything that he's been saying that he wanted to do, he's been doing, right? Everything. Nothing that he said that he wants to do, he hasn't tried to do it. Nothing, right? And so when I tell you that on April 20th, at the end of that 90 days of his January 20th executive order declaring a national emergency at the southern border, where he talked about the invasion 19 times in that executive order, 19 times he used the word invasion, right? 19 times. That on the 20th, when the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security come back to Donald Trump with their report and say, yeah, I think it's important for us to quell this invasion at the southern border, by enacting the Insurrection Act of 1807 so that we can deploy the active duty military to the southern border to regain control. They're just not going to come back from that. And it's funny because they're going to come out with that report saying that we need to send the military to the southern border to regain control, after Donald Trump in February talked about how they've had the border under control and look at how few people are coming across the border, right? But I'm telling you, Donald Trump is talking about what a great job he's doing at the southern border and how nobody's coming across, right? But in 12 days, the report's going to come back and be like, we need to send the fucking army. We need to send the military down to the southern border to regain control. They're playing you. Sorry, Felice, go ahead.
I was just going to piggyback. Could not agree more. And I just want to say, as a person who sees the world in patterns, and I have almost photographic memory, like what you have to recognize is this started around 9/11, right? We started using the word teist, right? And we realized, and we changed a bunch of laws. The Patriot Act or whatever it was. We started allowing Americans to be spied on, and we basically started saying, and at first it was foreign soil, because Jolly's exactly right. The Overton window, what people will accept and what people are comfortable with, has been moving slowly for decades. And we basically started saying, if we want to invade a sovereign nation, all we need to do is declare a T group inside of it, right? There's a T group in there that's attacking us. Now we can invade sovereign territory. There's no more boundaries. There's no more law. We can declare war not on a country anymore and their sovereign territory and boundaries, but on a random group that we just say is a T group, right? This has now started to be applied to the cartels. Right. Then it's, the war on illicit substances, which I could go on and on about, but I will not. You know, it's usually weird in a war. Why would you arm your opponent? You know, we are literally arming our alleged opponent, being like, we're at war. But anyway, so now we're on our own continent and saying, well, there's a T group in the country to the south of us. So we have the right to invade if we want to. We have the right to declare war. And now we've moved that window so far, and that is what the justification was when I was telling you this has already happened. They've already tried it out once with the South Dakota National Guard. That was the legal justification for it. They said, and believe me, the largest, you guys know I'm indigenous Mexican, part of the Yaqui tribe in Arizona. The largest reservation is the Window Rock, the Navajo reservation in the Four Corners area. The second largest is a place called Pine Ridge in South Dakota. What they did to call up the South Dakota National Guard on U.S. soil was to say that Pine Ridge, which this has been disproven, and Kristi Noem is no longer allowed to set foot on that reservation because of the lies she told. She said it was a forward operating base for the invasion that's being led by the cartels. And because Pine Ridge, which is technically sovereign territory, not part of the United States, is now a forward operating base, they have the right to call up the U.S. military on American soil. So, I mean, are you seeing the pattern here? This is the progression of how it's gone.
Exactly. Yep. And listen, again, none of this is to make you all terrified to act or bunker down and not pay attention. All of this is just to literally tell you that every single thing that Donald Trump has said that he wanted to do, every single thing that the Heritage Foundation and the conservative think tanks of this country, PragerU and all of them have said that they wanted to do, they're doing. And when we tell you that when they say words, believe what they say, this is why. Because they weren't quiet about this during the election. They haven't been quiet about this for decades. This has been the goal. This has been the goal. So when people say words, fucking believe them. Believe them. April 20th, there's literally nothing that we're going to be able to do to stop him declaring the Insurrection Act. There's literally nothing. Courts could come out and say, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't care about the courts. He does not care. The judicial branch has been trying to use whatever authority that they have to check this administration. And what we've very quickly come to realize is that it's all bark and no bite. Because as long as the person that the judicial branch is putting in check just says, nah, fuck y'all, I'm going to do it anyway, there's nothing that can stop them. We've existed for 248 years. 248 years we've existed under this pretense that we have checks and balances. And the only reason that it's worked is because everybody has agreed that this is how we do it.
The social contract.
That's it. There's this handshake agreement that this is how we're going to do it. Right? And then you get one fucking despot in there who's like, or I could just blow up the whole goddamn thing and just do whatever the fuck I want. And we're all scrambling now like, fuck, how do we stop this? And I'm just going to tell you, every fascist regime ends the same way. I mean,
and just to even draw further on that, like what we are seeing, and this is as a history, as someone with a history degree and a historical researcher, we've entered the decline of the American empire.
Yes.
And it takes It's not a small thing. It's like when you look back at history, it's like, oh, and then the Roman Empire fell. Like, no, that was hundreds of years of time. Declines are very painful. A lot of painful things happen, a lot of military actions, a lot of loss of overall wealth. And what happens during the decline of an empire is people that had it good on the ride up say, hey, I don't want to feel this decline, so I'm going to consolidate power.
Yep.
And I'm going to shift the burden of that decline to the middle and the lower class.
Yes. Always.
And that is what we are seeing.
Yep. It's always about finding this common enemy, right? Which, I'm sorry, that's a tenet of fascism, isn't it? Finding a common enemy to distract the proletariat away from the real problem and give them something to focus on. So what has the Trump administration been doing for the past 10 goddamn years, right? Because let's be real. Yes, Joe Biden was in from, 2021 to the January of 2025. Yep, we had the Joe Biden administration there. But let's be fucking real for a second here, okay? Donald Trump was still very much in power of a lot of fucking people in this country. Right? Donald Trump still pulled the strings of every fucking Republican in the goddamn legislative branch. Every single one. Right? So let's not pretend for any fucking, any pretext of time here that Donald Trump hasn't been pulling the strings even when fucking he wasn't the president of the United States. Right? Everything has been to set up that, who the real problem is are trans people and immigrants and the queer community and Democrats. Those are the real enemies of this country. They're the ones that are trying to. And
brown people took your money and your jobs.
Yeah. The single mother on food stamps is the one that's the problem here. You've got too many people abusing the system. They've been very systematic and directing your focus on your fellow citizens and away from what they're trying to do. And you bought it. You fucking bought it. All of you did. All of you, the 77 million of you that made a conscious effort to go out and vote for Donald Trump, bought the bullshit. You just did.
And some of the liberals did too.
Yeah. Because what happened on November 6th, right? On November 6th, you had a bunch of the left-leaning fucking media heads coming out talking about how the Democrats spent too much time on identity politics and culture war politics and all this stuff. Like, no. If Republicans would stop attacking marginalized communities, we could move on to other shit. Mm-hmm. It's not that we spent time talking about it. It's that we had to spend time trying to defend their existence. Period.
Yep.
And if you're conservative, if you're on the right fringe or the left fringe, it's really simple. I thought you guys believed in small government. I thought you guys hated the federal government. I thought you didn't want anyone making choices for you. I thought you didn't want anyone in your doctor's office. It's simple line of logic. Every human being on American soil has basic unalienable human rights.
Yes.
Is that true or not? It's that simple.
It is
what
true.
You want for yourself, right? Extend that line of logic to everyone else and don't be a hypocrite.
Do you want to know how I know that every single person, regardless of their citizenship status in the United States of America, has protections under the Constitution? Do you want to know how I know that is absolutely 100% true? Somebody tell me why Guantanamo Bay, Cuba was put in Cuba and not in Florida.
Outside of U.S. soil.
Absolutely.
Outside of US. But also, Can I just say something that people are missing too? Because I love that you brought up Guantanamo Bay. Guess what's happening to those, I think there's less than 10 now people, of the 9/11 people and, Al-Qaeda types that are there. You know what's happening with them? It's called due process.
Yeah.
They all have lawyers.
Yeah.
And they're getting due process. And
we're
talking about snatching people off the streets and they deserved it.
We
got the 9/11 people getting due process in Guantanamo.
No, they don't.
hypothetically. You know what I'm saying? They have representation.
The people, they don't though. That's the whole thing. They don't.
I've read that. I mean, they allegedly have lawyers.
Yeah,
they have military lawyers.
Right. There it is. They have military lawyers, right? They're subject to military tribunals, not the legislative or the judicial process here in the United States.
Oh, yeah. That's what I mean. But I'm just saying, at least they have someone. And we're disappearing American citizens.
Right. And there's in Guantanamo Bay, there is no right to habeas corpus. You don't know why you were there. You don't know when you're getting out. You're not guaranteed a right to a speedy trial. You're not guaranteed representation. You're not guaranteed due process. That's the reason that we sent everybody that we were snatching up in Iraq and Afghanistan to Guantanamo Bay and not Fort Leavenworth, Kansas.
Even.
That's exactly why. And
remember,
now,
that's what Biden was doing. They were trying to finally, through military tribunals and military lawyers, get them out of there.
Right. Yeah. That's the reason. That's the reason that everybody was sent to Gitmo. Because they are outside the protections of the Constitution if they're not on United States soil. Period.
And now we have El Salvador, too.
Which
we have no information about, by the way.
None.
Still to this day.
None.
No information about what the contract looks like or anything.
And we never will, because the Supreme Court just said that the Trump administration can continue to send people to El Salvador.
Wait, can I say I actually read this whole order and I wanted to talk about that today because that's not technically, so they didn't rule on El Salvador, right? They said that technically what the ruling says, because I read every page, it's that they can remove people from the United States under the Alien Enemies Act. And Trump declared, so it has nothing to do with El Salvador. They have not addressed anything with Socote. That's the name of that labor prison camp. So that has not been ruled on at all. This is one of the things in the note I sent you that I wanted to talk about. So I want to be clear, because when Trump and all of MAGA yesterday were like, victory, absolutely wrong. Read the order. Read the order. The ACLU lawyers are also declaring victory. I just want to be clear about what happened. That case that the Supreme Court, that Trump's like, I won. No, you won nothing. What happened was it was filed in DC.
Yep.
Those people are being held in Texas. The only thing it was a procedural ruling that said two things. Number one, you need to refile this case, and we're going to start from the beginning in the place where they're being held before deportation, which is Texas. And number two, they said, which is why the ACLU lawyers are like, yeah, we won, is that you need to provide them in writing, writ of habeas corpus, you need to provide them advance warning before they are deported. And again, this has nothing to do with Socote in El Salvador. They have not addressed that at all yet, but you need to provide them written warning, and they must, and this is from Kavanaugh's writing in support of this. They must have time to a hearing to defend themselves. Right. Which is what the ACLU wanted. So Trump being like, I won, you didn't win anything.
But the order that was the lower circuit court had said that he's not allowed to deport people under the Alien Enemies Act.
Yes.
And the Supreme Court came out and said that you can continue to do that. Now, I understand that it all says that you have to give them this and you have to give them that and whatnot. They weren't doing that before. They're not going to do it now.
Yeah, but just know the case just needs to be refiled, which I think the reason the Supreme Court did that is because in Texas, when you judge shop, there's a lot lower, they'll probably get a favorable judge. I'm not saying what the Supreme Court did is good.
Right.
I'm just saying the case is going to start over and be refiled in Texas. And until then, people can be deported.
Yeah.
And I read the ruling also on Kilmar Albrego Garcia.
Yeah.
The man that was removed and is in Socote. The only place he couldn't be sent back to was El Salvador.
Yeah.
And what that was just a pause for a second, because those briefs, they have until end of day today to submit the briefs that are hundreds, thousands of pages, and then the Supreme Court needs time to read it. He was supposed to be returned, if anyone doesn't know, by 11:59 last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I can't remember what it's called, but basically John Roberts did an emergency, hold on, we haven't even read the briefs. You need to submit all this stuff. So at some point soon they'll be hopefully they'll get him back. And I've watched a lot of legal analysts talk about this, and I was reading on immigration, Aaron Reichlin Melnick, and they do expect probably at least that guy, because there was a ruling he couldn't be sent there, will have to be brought back.
Or the Trump administration will be like, no.
Well, and I want to be specific about Kilmore Abrego Garcia. The only country, I'm not saying he can't be deported. Right? I'm saying the only place he can't be sent is exactly where they sent him. So could they bring him back and just send him somewhere else? Sure.
Or they just say no. They say, no, we're not going to do it. Because Tom Homan, who is Donald Trump's border czar, right, legitimately, has already said, we don't care what the courts say. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. He's literally said those words. So I love that the judicial branch is going out and trying to do everything that they fucking can to halt this egregious centralization of power and overreach by the executive branch. But when you have an executive branch that's like, or you can go fuck yourself, how do we enforce it? What do we do to enforce it? The enforcement.
I want to ask you that. What is like, in your opinion? Let's say that happens. They deny. Let's say. Let's forget the federal judiciary, but let's say the Supreme Court says, bring this guy back. They don't. What, in your opinion, are the next steps? Like,
that every fascist regime ends the same way.
No, yeah. True that, but I mean,
that's
in checks and balances. Would it be military?
That is the checks and balances. No, the military is under command of the executive branch, right? The military is not going, and like I've said a million times, right? The military doesn't exist.
No,
right?
It's Pete Hegseth.
You know, it's not the military. You know, there are individuals. The United States military is a collective group of individuals that have a conscience and are able to make a determination on if something is lawful or not. There's no one act that everybody, because it's instilled in us that I was just following orders is not a defense. That is not good enough.
That's interesting. I'm glad to hear you say that.
That's not good enough. You have to follow lawful orders. That's why I get into arguments all the time. It's like the military follows orders. No, they don't. The military follows lawful orders. Now, it is up to the individuals to determine what is and isn't a lawful order. And there were, up until January 20th, JAG lawyers at the Pentagon that were specifically used and utilized to determine if an order was lawful or not, that Donald Trump said, or you can fuck off. So it's going to get a little bit more tricky, but there are people in the military that are going to look at orders coming down that are going to go against their, the Constitution and the civil liberties of their fellow citizens, and they're going to say no. But there are also people in the military that are going to look at those orders and say yes. So you're not going to have a unified military that's just going to march in step with one another doing exactly what they're told. There's going to be a lot of division. There's going to be a lot of division in there. There's going to be a lot of division. But that's not the point. Right? That's not the point. The point is the point isn't to have a unified military. The point is to consolidate power in the executive branch. So what the military is not going to go and overthrow the president of the United States and seize power. That's not going to happen.
Sometimes happens in fascism.
No, it does. Sometimes it does.
Fascist military. I mean,
it does. It does sometimes. Yeah, it won't happen here. There's because again, like what Jolly was saying earlier. The United States of America isn't like those other places. There are people within the military that are
clamp down on power in the Republic of Georgia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not this idea of like a civil war in the United States and it's going to look like it did. No, it absolutely isn't. You're not going to have Georgia fighting New York. You know what I mean? Because there are people in Georgia that are going to stand against what's going on. There are people in New York that are going to stand for what's going on. Right?
Let me see this. And this is my, like, and again, I'm a cynic by nature, and like, I just watch and I don't listen to people talk. I watch their actions. So yeah, I don't have much hope, but my hope is if Trump is dumb enough, because it would mean, I mean, he is dumb, right? But defying let's say the Supreme Court rules against him and he defies that. At that point, I mean, now I agree with you. It's not going towards military. Now we're looking at impeachment, because the amount of pressure. Well, listen, I'm not saying the vote could happen. Impeachment's a vote.
Right. I know, but it's a vote that has to be brought by the Speaker of the House.
Oh, well, I mean, it takes a majority. Yeah. I mean,
right. Yeah. It takes a majority, right? The Speaker of the House, accepts the articles of impeachment.
What I'm saying is not necessarily that we're going to a third time impeach him, but I mean, what I'm saying is that at that point, when Trump, we have that sort of precedent, that trail of it's led to the Supreme Court. He has now defied it.
Yep.
Now all eyes are on Congress. And the question is, because these are people who very obviously, if we've noticed anything, it's people once they get in Congress for whatever reason don't seem to ever want to leave there, right? And forever.
But
now that's what it comes to, is they all need to be voted out.
Right. Yeah. And I love that idea.
Every person that has no spine and refused to do what needed to be done during this period of time has to go.
Keep that optimism that we're even going to have
optimism.
Another.
I always expect the worst. I don't think that is going to happen. I think that is the expectation of the American people.
No, I'm saying that there's going to be another election. That's the optimism I'm talking about. People are like, we need to mobilize.
About the midterms? Or are you talking about?
Yes. Yeah. I love that.
We're in if we have declared war on random things.
Yeah.
We're in a war.
Hello, I'm the one that's been saying that.
I know.
In my life is the quickest way for Trump to consolidate power is very much exactly what we've seen him do: national emergencies, martial law, whatever. So believe me, every day talk about that and we talk about it.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
No, I'm not talking about fact. No, I'm not talking about you. I'm saying that there are so many people that are out here that are talking about, like, we need to really bunker down for the 2026 elections. And I was like, great, you focus on that, and I will try to ensure that those happen. Because at this point right now, I don't believe that they will. With the Insurrection Act that is absolutely going to be recommended by SecDef and Homeland Security on the 20th, and then Trump, who will absolutely enact it, and then he's just going to start suspending constitutional liberties. The first thing that he'll do is First Amendment right to protest and the press. That'll get suppressed. And then it'll move to habeas corpus rights.
Just vote one more
due
time
process
and you never
rights.
have to do it again. Remember,
that's
it just echoes in my head.
Literally what he said.
Vote
one more time and you'll never have to do it again. Believe the man when he says words.
Just vote one more time and you'll never have to do it again.
Exactly. Believe the man when he says words.
And I don't even want to say this, but I'm just going to say, I mean, for all the people in the middle, because it's not everyone in this country. I would say, let's say 30%, 33, let's generously, 33% of this country is in cognitive dissonance. Like Jolly was saying, like, there's no point in addressing these people. They are in cognitive dissonance. They're in an information silo. They are not listening. But there is a good cross section of people in the middle of the country.
Yep.
Right? Who are not in cognitive dissonance, who either voted for Trump or loudly. I have a list of people's names in my notes app on my iPhone of people I heard for over 6 months going around this app saying, I just can't do it. I can't get there. I can't vote for, or 4 months going around, I can't vote for Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And those same people talking about Project 2025 and all of these plans. It's mine. It's like, I'm kind of talking out loud at this point, but you know what I'm saying? Like, make it make sense. If you understood the nature of Project 2025, if you believed what Trump was saying, You just couldn't get there?
Yeah. But that's the thing. And that's where the media, which is supposed to be a check, right, on the government as a whole, just completely failed. They sane washed everything Donald Trump said for so goddamn long.
I know. I love that word, sane washed.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, that's the word for like when you see CNN, when Trump does something, gives a speech and it's so outrageous. Like, remember the Madison Square Garden rally of fascist racism that we all witnessed? I'll never forget CNN's reporting after of just like, that's Trump.
Right. Exactly. And they've made it acceptable for people to just write off everything that he's saying because, he's just an old white guy who's a little unhinged in what he says and talks about.
He says some stuff. Yeah,
he says
not
some
gonna
things.
do it.
Right. Exactly.
And like Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski going
down to Mar-a-Lago.
Having a friendly chat.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So like the media themselves has perpetrated this idea that you don't have to believe everything that Donald Trump says because he's just a crazy old man that says words sometimes.
And it's okay to pathologically lie. And I had to hear, and I'm talking about leftists now because like you said, I have a lower bar. It's not that I don't hold people on the right accountable, but you've proven to me that you couldn't find your way out of a paper bag if your life depended upon it. So I have a different I already have convicted you. I've tried you and convicted you in my mind.
100%.
Now I'm talking about people on the left. Who I literally listen to them say things like this over and over and over. Well, it's not going to happen. Well, Kamala's not much better. Look at what they're doing in Gaza. Hey, in case anyone knows, what day is it? I believe it's now 35 days since any food, water, or medical supplies have gone into Gaza. Well, we're all worried about all this stuff right now. They are literally starving all those people to death.
Literally. Yeah, literally. And all of this, everything here is connected. Everything is connected. Nothing in this world exists in a vacuum, right? Nothing in this world exists in a vacuum. Benjamin Netanyahu has intensified his genocide against the Palestinian people since Donald Trump has come into office. Why? Because Donald Trump enables him. Vladimir Putin has continued his war against Ukraine, not because he feels like there's going to be any pushback, but because now he's got the support of Donald Trump in the United States to continue doing it. And they're shifting the blame away from this invasion of Ukraine from Russia to this slow movement of westward expansion of NATO or eastward expansion of NATO. Right. And that's a problem. Right. That's a problem. That's the real problem. Fucking going out and saying there are right-wing creators on this app right now and on YouTube and on social media right now. There's we've been sold for decades that Russia and North Korea are the enemies, but now we see that it's actually Europe. So of course,
see when I say couldn't find their way out of a paper bag.
Yeah.
Pick up a book. Let's talk about personal responsibility, Americans, because I think I always hear the right, and this is a contention. Oh, liberals are just the party of the college educated. They left the working people behind. The smartest people I know have never went to college. Right. As a former teacher, education, there's a thirst for knowledge you have or do not have. If you think that you need to have the money to go to university to be educated, you do not. The best educations I've ever gotten were for free. One of them was on this app when I was in the hospital dying and couldn't walk. And so if you think you need to have a college education to learn 100%, no, you don't.
Exactly.
Books can take you anywhere you want to go. And we are in this situation because people don't have a personal responsibility. It is all of our personal responsibilities to understand what is going on in this country before we cast a vote.
Exactly. Because again, we do not exist in a vacuum. We do not exist for ourselves alone. Every action that we take or inaction that action that we sit out on are things that are going to affect everybody else, not just in this country, fucking globally. There was a story report that came out yesterday, day before, where Israel was found to be covering up what their military did to emergency workers that were looking in a convoy looking for so a report came out that from Israel that there was a convoy moving towards them that didn't have any lights on, nothing. Turns out that they blew up and shot up all this entire convoy. There was a cell phone footage from the convoy that was recovered a couple of days ago after the bodies and vehicles of these people were found in a mass grave after they'd been bulldozed, that showed that not only were they clearly in emergency vehicles, sirens and lights were going the whole time. And as soon as they got out of the vehicle to move towards one of the other disabled vehicles that they were looking for, they were set upon by Israeli forces. They were all killed and then buried in a mass grave with their vehicles. That's what happened. And now Israel and the Israeli military is coming out and being like, oh, well, we were mistaken on that and we're going to investigate it. Cool. Awesome. Again.
They say every time.
Again.
The TS were hiding underneath the cars.
Again.
That's why.
Again, we're going to investigate it. All right. So there was a wolf that got into the hen house. We have this other wolf over here who's going to investigate why he was there. That's literally what it is. And it's the same wolf.
Our wacko stepchild.
And it's actually just the same wolf with a fucking mustache.
But understand, and we created this. Do you know what I'm saying? This is our wacko stepchild that's out of control.
Yes.
That we created. So and I don't care what side of you were on. Our money, our finances, our government created this mess.
And Felisa goes back to what you said about like we tack onto this word T-rest, right? And then whenever we label a group that, then any collateral damage around it we can overlook,
right?
Because that's going, we're going after the T.
We're going after
whoopsie doodle whenever we hurt these innocent people, but it's because the terrorists were hiding behind.
Yeah, it's okay. And, we got the one guy we were going for. I'm sorry about the 140 people that were also unalived in the strike, but we did get the guy we were going for.
And it's also a great way to squish dissent because, like, if anybody then is like, "Hey, y'all need to stop with the unaliving innocent people," they're like, "You support terrorism,"
right?
And then they get their green cards taken away, as we're seeing in all the universities,
or they're a PhD student who writes who co-authors. It wasn't even the sole author on co-authors an opinion piece about it, and they get snatched up outside their house and deported.
Right. Well, you saw that all the student visas are getting revoked, right?
Yeah.
Harvard, UCLA, Stanford.
Yeah.
Michigan. Yeah.
But hey, you know what though? It's fine because we brought dire wolves back to life. So, focus on that, I guess. Cool. Fucking dire wolves are back. I mean, yeah, we're still, slaughtering children for existing in Gaza, but a wolf that died 10,000 years ago, we brought it back to life. So we fucking did it, guys.
And I just want to let me run something by you because this is the history major in me, and I want to get because I think, like you said, this is not. People will say, "Oh, we're hyperbolic." I'm not. It's not about being hyperbolic. I just see patterns, and I'm just describing a pattern that I have tracked. And let me, as a former history major or a history major, former historical researcher, let me tell you about another pattern that I think is very concerning that I noticed. Post World War II, immediately after World War II. Right. We had amassed a lot of wealth. It was one of the largest transfers of wealth of all time. America became very wealthy, and us and the Allies. And if you don't know where the term third world country is, I'll tell you. There were the Allies, people that fought World War II with us. There were the Axis, and then on the third world country, everyone who didn't take a side, they called the third world, and they devalued their currency. So that's where that term comes from. But let me just go where I'm at. Post World War II, the United States and our allies developed a strategy called containment. And that was about Russia, the USSR. And we saw them as out of their minds, these wackos, and we needed to contain them. And the entire world engaged in a strategy of containment. Keep these people contained, minimize damage. God knows what they're doing. Like, we'll just contain them, tariff them, and leave them to their own business. That is now us.
Yeah.
The entire world is now banding together to participate in a containment strategy against the wacko United States. That is who we are now.
Yep. Yes. 100%. And I know a lot of people are like, well, what are we going to do? What do we do? How do we stop this? This is going to be painful. I need you all to recognize that. I'm not going to sugarcoat this shit. This is going to be painful. There are going to be a lot of people.
Used to discomfort.
No,
it's going to get ugly.
There are going to be a lot of people that are going to get hurt. There are going to be a lot of people that will be unalived from this. This is not going to be pretty. This isn't a, well, make sure you show up in November and vote for the fucking thing, blah, blah, blah. No, you guys, that ship has sailed. Just showing up to vote, that ship has sailed. If you're truly concerned about what we're seeing, then you need to be prepared to be uncomfortable. You need to be prepared to be uncomfortable because it's going to be getting out in the streets. It's going to be screaming your fucking heads off. And when the time comes, you need to remember that every fascist regime ends the same way. These are hard truths, y'all. This is not fun talk. These are not, light, jovial conversations. We are literally talking about the continued existence of what we have come to know as the United States of America and what we are going to have to be willing to do to protect it. So you need to ask yourself, all of you that are down there like, what do we do? What do we do? You're asking the wrong question. The question you need to be asking right now is, what am I willing to do? That's the question to ask. Stop looking for people to tell you what to do and start asking yourself, what am I willing to do? That's the reality of the situation. That is the reality that people find themselves in right now. And we, as a country, have enabled this, right? As a country as a whole, we have enabled this to come because people have this idea of rugged individualism and politics is just its own fucking thing and I don't need to pay attention to it because it doesn't affect me, has enabled this situation to arise. Because we have more people that'll sit out and be like, well, I just don't want to get involved, than we do people out here screaming at you to pay attention. That's all I'm saying.
And let's start from the point of civil disobedience, but also what levers of power do the American people have? Right? We have the number one gross domestic product in the world. We need to grind it to a halt. We need to stop consuming and we need to stop working.
Yeah. If you really,
that's probably the next step. I mean, before, it gets worse.
You want somebody to tell you what to do? I'll tell you right now. Stop going to work. Stop buying shit. Shut it down. Grind the system to a fucking halt. Stop going to work. Stop paying for shit. How am I going to eat? Fucking start fostering community and take care of one another.
Communal. Yeah. I mean, literally, that's what we're at now. Mutual aid. That's what we call it on the far left fringe.
Yep.
Yeah. Build up your community. And there's so many freaking things, but that's number one. And be loud. Be fucking annoying, and don't go quietly. Don't obey in advance.
Listen,
like, there's so many things. But like sitting around thinking there's too many things. Pick one.
Pick one.
And do it.
Yep. Pick one and do it. Seriously.
And if you're not desperate enough, I see people saying, I can't stop working. Well, I mean, that's great. Then you're not at the point, right?
Right.
Like eventually you will be next up to be removed, to be disappeared, right? You can stop, you can take a stand now, or you can wait till they're hauling you off. And then people are looking at you like, I'm not feeling it yet. I'm going to wait it out. It's just a matter of when do we take a stand? Now or 2 years from now?
Look, I get it. I get it. There are nurses and doctors and people out there that care for their patients and want to do right by them, and I totally get it. And I'm not telling you to stop. I'm telling you to ask the question, what are you willing to do?
Stop buying things. It's not like everyone doesn't have to do the same thing.
Yeah. If you
we don't all have to do the same thing.
If you can't stop working, you can stop buying things. You can stop shopping.
Stop buying things from...
Consumption is the biggest problem we have in America. This is the global marketplace. This is where people bring their products to be sold. This is the billionaire overlords. They rely on us consuming. So I would say even before we stop working, the question is, we are told I need a new iPhone every year. I need, blah, blah, blah. What don't you need? That's a place to start, right? Yeah. Like in Ireland, I don't know if you guys know if anyone's ever been to Ireland, but they have this long tradition of thrifting, buying new clothes. Consumerism is almost looked down upon, right? Don't buy new clothes.
No.
Thrift. That's an idea.
Well, again, the question isn't what do I do? The question is, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do? Nobody can come in and be like, this is what you have to do to solve everything. There's no one answer. There is no one answer. There just isn't. So you need to ask yourself, what are you willing to do? If you can't stop working, don't stop working. What are you willing to do? That's the question. Yeah, this is
I'll give
depressing.
you an example. I used to work in court. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, somebody said this is depressing. It is depressing. It is. It's uncomfortable. It's terrifying. It's scary. It's sad that the United States of America in 2025 is having to have conversations about how we prevent the fascist authoritarian takeover of our entire fucking country. But here we are. This is reality. This is where we're at.
And I can say that you'll feel better and you will feel less depressed if you get active, proactive.
Yeah.
And stop just worrying and actually start doing something.
And I'm going to tell you, specifically the white people real quick. And then I want Felice to go back to what she was talking about. But I just have a message for the white people real quick. April 5th. Good job. Don't let that be the last time you're in the fucking streets. Don't let that be a one-off.
Right.
Get your asses out there and be fucking loud. Great job, April 5th. Great job. Fantastic. If you think it's over and you did your part, you're fucking wrong. Period. Sorry, go ahead, Felice.
And I was just going to say this, and this is just this is just a lived experience, but I used to make six figures, a lot of money. I worked in the before I was a teacher first, but then I moved into corporate America. I worked in advertising in the tech industry, for a huge social media corporation. I'm not legally allowed to say the name. Anyways, and due to things that happened in the tech industry, you know, being 90% male and 10% female, I left the tech industry, right? I cashed out my 401k. I disappeared into South America, had no plans on living, did mutual aid, lived in actual communist societies in the Amazon, traveled around. And what it did is it changed my perspective. Mm-hmm. When you live in third world countries, when you live on $4 or $5 a day, when you truly give up all your worldly possessions, what you realize is, as we call them in the tech industry, that they're golden handcuffs.
Yes.
That all the things you thought you needed, you actually don't need.
Yep.
And and right now, like, the money I make is dependent people on social media, you know, like the research, the work I do, what they think it's worth, like that's the money I make. My life has never been more fulfilled, more healthy, or more valuable, right?
Yep.
Like, people in the rest of the world have nothing. And and I'll draw this comparison to the trade war with China. You know, tomorrow's Liberation Day, take two. Trump basically said if China doesn't back down, 50% more tariffs. I don't know if that's on top of the other one.
It is.
Now we're over.
Yeah, it is.
Are we over 100%? Like,
almost.
I'm
on
very
China.
unclear what's happening now. And, you know, basically, I was watching like a translated version of his responses. He's laughing at us. Do you want to know why? Because they know Americans can't be uncomfortable. Good luck. Good luck being uncomfortable, America. We are the most comfortable people in the world. Mm-hmm. We have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 square foot homes. We drive these ridiculous trucks that nobody needs. We are the most comfortable people in the world.
Yep.
Get ready to get uncomfortable. That would be my advice.
Yep. I'm just saying it again, just to reiterate, what can I do? Stop asking that. What are you willing to do? How can I get involved? Stop asking that. What are you willing to do? How are you willing to be involved? That's,
if you have children, take care of them. Like, I want to just say this because I sit in a place of privilege. I don't have dependents, right? So I empathize with people like, hey, I have a family and I need to take care of those kids. Do that. We do need capital in certain situations, right? So other dissidents could run around raising hell. So it's not, you know, like, there are creators that are doing things. Volunteer for them if you can. Support them. Subscribe to them. There are ways, and believe me, I am empathetic. Like, my privilege is that I do not have dependents that are dependent on me for survival, and that is a privilege in this situation.
And there's a lot of people that are like, we need guidance in the chat here, and I get that. There isn't a one size fits all for this. This is all right. Here's your guidance. For those of you that are looking for guidance, and I'm not calling any one person out, and I'm not upset that you're asking for that. Here's your guidance. Evaluate your day-to-day life. Evaluate what you do day to day, right? Evaluate what you're doing. Figure out what you can change to stop supporting the system. What can you do right now to stop supporting the system? Maybe instead of going to a major grocery chain for your food, you suck it up and pay a little bit more at a mom and pop place. Maybe instead of going to Walmart, like Felice said, for your new clothes, or JCPenney or Macy's or whatever, you go to your local consignment shop or thrift store for clothes. Stop supporting Amazon Prime. Stop buying shit off of Amazon. Cancel your Amazon Prime Video subscription. Start reading books instead of watching shows on these mega corporation streaming services. Cancel your cable. I mean, you know, there are things that you can do, right? There are things that everybody can do that are going to make a difference. Again, there's not a one size fits all. And yes, I recognize that collectively, if we all did the same thing, that would be beneficial. That's never going to happen. We are never going to get 350 million people in the United States, even half of those people, to do the same thing. It's just not going to happen. That is not going to happen. What we
and that's
need,
why the goal is a critical mass, right? Like when if you go to general strike, like if you were a person who maybe your job's in danger anyways, and you might get fired. So you're someone who's like, well, I could strike. Go to general strike. I think it's .us. And that's about creating, it's not, of course, no 350 million people are never striking, but we reach a critical mass, which I think is about 10% of people to strike at once. And we do, or 3.5%.
3.5%.
And we do damage to the economy. Like it's goals like that, right? So yeah, look up general strike. I think it's .us.
GeneralStrikeUS.com.
.com, yeah. And look into that. If you're one of those people who your profession, I mean, whatever you're doing for your job might be going anyways, or you're, like if that's something, look into that. It's not about everyone do the same thing. It's about reaching a critical mass of people and staying aware. People are like, when's the next protest? Why aren't you Googling it? Like, make sure you join Move On. Right? Yep. Indivisible's another organization.
Mobilize.us is a great site. If you want to know what's happening in your area, mobilize.us is a great site. Indivisible is a great site. MoveOn.org is fantastic. Get in touch with the ACLU. Figure out what they're doing, what they're supporting. Get like the 5051 has been doing a lot of good work. They've been doing a lot of good work. Stay up to date on what they're doing. There is a lot that we can do, right? There is a lot that we can do. We're never going to get everybody to do the same thing. It's just not. We're just not going to get everybody to do the same thing. So this is why I say you need to evaluate what you're doing in your day-to-day life and figure out what you can do to stop supporting the system. Maybe don't go to Walmart anymore. Fuck it. And listen, maybe Walmart is the only grocery store that you have around you. Then that's not something you can do. Right? That's not something you can do. So do something else. Right? That's what I'm saying. That there's not a one size fits all. Right? There'll probably be state elections. Who knows about congressional? But if they're now that this pendulum is shifting, what we saw in the Florida special election and the New York special elections, don't let anyone in your rural area run unopposed. Right? So many local, like school board positions and these things that it turns out, surprise, it does matter that the Tea Party movement took over years ago. Don't let somebody run unopposed for school board. Don't let them walk in there. Maybe you won't win, but don't let them just walk in there. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's just about we all have to look at ourselves in the mirror, and that's what I say. Like, if there ever was a time to leave it out on the field, now is the time. Hey, you remember? Sorry, this is breaking as of the IRS 10 minutes ago. No. Oh, it's. You remember how the Keystone Pipeline was shut down by Biden? Yeah. It's really weird if it was shut down that it would now be spilling oil after it ruptured. What? I love how they're like, Biden shut down the Keystone Pipeline. Where's the rupture? The oil spill, let me see here. In North Dakota, spilling crude into an agricultural field near Fort Ransom. The cause of the rupture and total volume of oil released remain unclear, officials say, according to Bill Seuss, spill investigation program manager for the North Dakota Department of Environmental Quality. A worker at the site heard a mechanical bang and quickly shut down the pipeline within about 2 minutes. Oil was seen surfacing roughly 300 yards south of the pump station, Seuss said. Emergency crews have responded to the scene and are assessing the extent of the spill. Good job, Doug Burgum. I blame Doug Burgum for this. Here's my breaking news. IRS has now agreed. And if you're MAGA and you're listening to this, I thought you didn't want the government in your personal information. IRS is now going to give private tax information to the federal government to target migrants. Yep.
Oh, wait, I thought they didn't have they didn't pay taxes.
But well, no, this is the thing. MAGA, you guys don't know this because your brains don't work, but $98 billion is what we levied in tax revenue from undocumented immigrants in 2023. Now they won't pay taxes. They were paying into our Social Security and Medicare and never taking it back out. It's one of the only ways Social Security was remaining solvent. Now don't worry, they won't file taxes anymore. Talk about biting off your nose to spite your face.
Yep.
Idiocy.
Yep. The whole thing.
Don't worry, the child labor laws are being torn down, so the kids can get back in the meatpacking plants.
Don't worry about it, guys.
Fine.
Yeah.
The kids will get into the mines.
Kids will do it. Get in. Make black lung great again. And for everybody in the comments, yes, it was the Keystone XL pipeline that was not operational, that was stopped. It was not the Keystone pipeline, but MAGA doesn't know the difference. So they were under the impression, and probably still are. So I would love to see how they reconcile. I cannot wait to hear the talking points about how the Keystone pipeline that Joe Biden shut down, and now that's why gas prices are so high. How that shutdown pipeline is now spilling oil all over North Dakota.
Oh, and just to give some more, as long as we're on oil and gas, oil futures are now at $60.35 in real time. Just looking that up. So just to be clear, MAGA, that's not drill, baby, drill. I know you don't know anything about the U.S. oil industry. That's we're capping the wells now. We're not tapping the wells. If oil gets to $60 a barrel, the U.S. oil industry goes bankrupt. So there will be no drill, baby, drill any longer. We are capping wells now. Congratulations.
Yep. 42 minutes ago, it's being reported by the New York Times that the Supreme Court has paused the ruling requiring the rehiring of fired individuals from the federal government.
I saw that too.
Yep. So this is what I'm saying. Like, ask yourself what you're willing to do. What are you willing to do? I don't know what that looks like. Then you need to sit down and do some self-reflection and figure it out. I don't know your life. I don't know what you do on the day-to-day. I don't know what you can and can't do. You need to sit down and figure out, maybe instead of driving everywhere and buying more gas, I walk somewhere. Maybe that's all you can do.
I don't have a car.
Yeah, great.
For that reason, I learned in South America, nobody has a car in the world. Why do I?
Yeah.
I don't have a car anymore.
Yeah.
I walk 10 miles a day.
Yeah, fuck it. Right? Fuck it. You know, figure out what it is. Right? Figure out what you can do. I wish I had just the answer, but the answer doesn't exist. Go ahead.
Perhaps it's stop having holidays with your bigoted MAGA family members.
Yeah. Tell them to fuck off.
Make them feel something. Make them feel a bit of the loss that we're all feeling.
Yeah. That's a great one. That's easy. That literally costs you nothing. That might actually save you some money.
And I want to talk about the Supreme Court order, because again, I'll read the entire court brief, but I read, I'm a very fast reader. I just read 2 pages. I just want to be clear. It's dismissed the federal court ruling is dismissed based on standing,
right? Because
the people that filed it weren't injured. So we can bring the case again, but it needs to be based on actual injured parties.
Right.
So there's still some hope. Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's but this is this is a shitty conversation. I never in a million years.
This is
I never in a million years was under the impression that I was going to have these types of conversations in this country, because I thought naively, apparently, that we at least understood that Nazis and fascism were bad. I thought that we as a collective had at least agreed on that. but we haven't. And so this is where we're at. And April 20th is going to be the tipping point. The 20th of April is going to be the tipping point.
That's another great example you bring up. So like people are like, what can we do or what can I do? Like I'll say this as a teacher. My skill set, right? Me being on the internet and screaming might not be yours. What you can do, I can't do, right? So that's my suggestion. I want you to think about what you're passionate about, what your skill set is, what you're really good at, and think, how can I use that skill set? If you're a lawyer, maybe you can do some pro bono, you know what I mean? Maybe you can get involved in something, help some people. It just depends. Everyone has a unique skill set that can be used. And we touched on this last week, but Matt reminded me when he just brought this up about fascism and schmotzies. Let's say this. If you're white, especially a white male, you have a superpower in this country. It is privilege. So you can get away with more. You can challenge people loudly and not go to jail. Use that privilege. Get in the streets and say, I'm a white male with privilege and I'm yelling for the right reasons, right? Like, you can do much more than I can do by nature of the gender credibility gap. When women speak, I wish it wasn't scientific, but no one listens. It is literally science. So if you're a white male, use that awesome power for good.
Those of you that heard my my talk this past Saturday in Iowa heard me say this. So, and those of you that didn't, I'm going to say it again right now. Nobody needs our help, white men. Nobody needs our help. They need our privilege. All right? I can go into places and say things and know that I'm going to be able to walk out and go home after it. Not everybody can do that. I can walk up and down the streets with a megaphone shouting shit at people as they drive by and know that nobody's going to stop me. Not everybody can do that. We do not have the ability to say that I am going to help you do this. No, I'm going to leverage my privilege to elevate and make your message louder because that's what I can do. That's what I can do. And I'll say it again. White men for the entirety of human history have consistently been on the wrong side of history more than we've been on the right side of history. And if you don't like that I said that, good. Fuck off. Sit in your discomfort in it, learn from it, and start using what society has given us because we have deemed ourselves superior to start lifting up voices that don't have the same fucking privilege. If you want to change the perception of white men, then white men change the perception of white men. Period.
It's the worst thing ever. It's the hardest lesson I've learned in 6 years of therapy, but you can only change you, right? Right? The change starts with you. And the more you change yourself, the more you learn these behaviors and use that privilege in a good way, the better things you're going to attract into your life, I promise. Look at me.
Yeah. And that's what it's going to take. It is going to take, I said this on Saturday. White men have never been expected to do the right thing. Ever. Right? We've never been expected to do the right thing. That's why when we talk about voter breakdown demographics over this past election, everybody's surprised that white women voted for Donald Trump and that, that some of the BIPOC community voted for Donald Trump. But when they get to white men, they're like 70% of white men voted for Donald Trump. And they're like, yeah, that makes sense. That tracks. Because we're never expected to do the right thing. We're never expected to do the right thing because we have all the privilege. And God damn it, if I'm going to give that up willingly, fucking give it up willingly. Everybody benefits when everybody benefits. If you can't lift somebody up utilizing your privilege, then you're doing nothing but sustaining the oppression of people. That's all you're doing. For your own comfort. That's it. That's it. If you don't like that white men are constantly demonized, then start doing the right thing, white men. Period.
And if you're one of the people that's like, this is hyperbolic, if you're, and by people I mean white men, who's like, this is hyperbolic, like that, this doesn't care, that it is a privilege. You are sitting in privilege to say, to even have the thought that this is hyperbolic. You are sitting in privilege.
Yep.
You are actually proving the point.
Of course it's hyperbolic for you. There is nothing that will ever be legislated that'll take rights away from white men. Of course it's hyperbolic for white men. Of course. We've never been systemically oppressed. We've never had to have legislation saying that we can do something. Ever. We've never had that. So, of course, all of these conversations about rights being taken away and people being, oppressed and put down and, systemically, harassed is hyperbolic to white men because we've never experienced it. Ever. Of course, it's hyperbolic for white men. Of course.
I was watching a guy, like, I think it was the National Mall protest in DC on Saturday. And he had this, it was like, they were talking to him about a sign and he had a Captain America sign. And he said, Captain America has been fighting Schmazis, since the 30s. And this is your chance. You like comic books? You want to be a hero? White males, this is your chance to be a hero. You want to be a champion, the people's champion? You want to be Captain America? It is here today. Otherwise, you could just sit on your couch and say, oh, everyone's exaggerating. But this is that chance. We need heroes.
Exactly. And that's where white men have an opportunity. Like Felice was saying, we have a very unique opportunity to use what society has given us in privilege and stature and standing to stand up and do the right thing. That's what we have. I can walk in to Claudia Tenney's office right now and go call her a big fucking idiot. And I know that I am going to walk out of there. And she is. And I'm going to walk out of there and go home. I'm not going to be dragged out in handcuffs. I'm not going to be tased. I'm sure as shit not going to be shot. The staffer is going to sit there and listen to me and be like, okay, thank you for coming in today. And then I'm going to leave. These are, that's privilege, y'all. That is fucking privilege. Not everybody can do that. Y'all need to, white men, hey, all right, hold on. I'm going on a soapbox. White men, hey, privilege isn't the collection or number of dollars that you have in your bank account. That's not privilege. Okay? Privilege isn't, I was never rich. That's not privilege. You have the privilege of not being systemically halted from obtaining generational wealth, but just because you don't have it doesn't mean you don't have privilege. Listen, none of this shit, I say it all the time, none of this shit is shit that I came up with by myself. All right. I didn't have this thought. These are things that Felice and Lainey and all of my BIPOC friends have been screaming for fucking years. But because this country doesn't want to listen to it until a bearded white man fucking says it, I'll say it. You've never had to have the talk with your son about cooperating with the police. White people have never had to have that conversation. That's privilege. You've never had to have the conversation with your kids about not wearing baggy pants when they go into a store because you don't want them to be thought as being fucking shoplifters or whatever. You've never had to have that conversation because that's privilege. That's what we have. That's the privilege we as white people have.
You've never had to think when you run like me 10 miles a day, if I do the same loop twice, the second time I come around, someone might be waiting to attack me.
Period.
Which really happened.
Period.
That's literally the conversation I have to have with myself every day.
You've never had to have the conversation with your son about putting the keys, their car keys, in between their fingers when they're walking out into the parking lot because white men have that privilege. You've never had to have that conversation with your sons. Period. So when I'm talking about privilege, I'm talking about privilege. Shit that you just get for being white and a man. That's what I'm talking about. And it's time for white men to start using that shit to affect change in this country. Stop sitting on your ass in your comfort bubble, or I'm going to come in there and destroy your fucking comfort bubble.
They would destroy your comfort bubble.
I will.
I love it.
I'll walk right into your fucking living room and kick you in the knee. Wake the fuck up. There is nothing in this country that white men have done that we haven't exploited the BIPOC community or the marginalized communities to achieve. White men didn't put us on the fucking moon. Black women did. White men didn't win World War II. The indigenous code talkers did. Period. Period. We get all the credit. We get all the parades. We get all the pats on the back for it and accolades and medals. That's it. But white men are not the heroes of the story. We're the exploiters of the story. And if that hurt your feelings, then I suggest you log off of the internet for a minute and go fucking figure out why that hurt your feelings. White men didn't free the slaves. Abolitionist black men and women freed slaves.
From who?
White men.
Oh, yeah.
What? White men create problems and then tell the story like they solved their problems that they created for themselves? It's the weirdest thing that happens.
Period. Because we're writing the books. We're writing the history. So we can make it say whatever we want.
Trump's going to save us from this economic crash. So,
right.
You know, like,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That he created.
Yep.
What just said those were two BS statements regarding World War II.
Okay.
And then learn history. Oh, here's the real thing. D-Day didn't win the war, right? Like, what really won the World War II? I mean, I have a emphasis in Western civilization. The Eastern Front, if anything.
Yep.
What? America weren't heroes? We were really late to the party?
Again? For the second fucking time?
And really smart gay fella named Alan Turing.
Yep.
And the Wind Talkers.
Yep.
Indigenous
yep.
folks. So
it was Alan Turing breaking the Enigma code.
Yeah, and you know what he got whenever he got back to the UK, which is probably what would have happened in the US as well, because in both cases, being GAY was,
chemically
illegal,
castrated.
He was chemically castrated. That's correct. That's correct. He did not get a parade. He got chemically castrated.
Yeah. But hey, you know what? White men did stuff, so give us all the medals for it. Give us the medals for it. Give us the accolades and the parades. But hey, you know what? White men, I know you don't like this conversation. I can feel your white man rage, just fucking hate typing in the comments. Like, this fucking liberal, god damn it, fucking. I can feel it fucking permeating through my screen right now. Y'all are pathetic.
Ears just tea kettling.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. That's it. I can see you down there. Bring me up. Let me talk to you. No. Die mad about it. Quickly, if you wouldn't mind. I'm not bringing you up. Fucking sit in your mad. Right? Have your big feels. Have your big fifis.
So used to having a platform too, isn't it hilarious?
Yeah.
Like, so used to white men are so used to being able to speak. No one cares about what you think.
Don't care. I don't care. I truly could not care less.
They get so surprised on my page when I don't let them just do their transphobia anymore. It's just like, oh, that's what you're doing. Bye.
Yep. Did you all know that? I know white men didn't, and I know that you all did. Some of the most effective and deadly snipers in World War II were women.
Oh, yeah. They're better.
I know you all do. I know you guys do. White men don't. White men don't. They don't. No, man, it was white men that did it. No, you fucking idiots. It wasn't. It wasn't. Whatever. White men, one of two things is going to happen. Y'all are either going to wake up and start fighting for everybody like you claim to want to be defenders of fucking people. You're either going to start doing it, or we're just going to run your stupid asses over and be done with it. That's it. That's it. I'm not up here to. I am just parroting what literally everybody else is saying, but because Lainey and Felice look like, you know, they look like this, you all don't want to listen to them. Nothing I've said today is anything more than what they said for their entire fucking existence. But until you hear it come out of somebody that looks like a fucking biker from Sons of Anarchy, you're not going to fucking listen to them. Speaking of white people,
your last post.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
It's like weaponizing your biker aesthetic.
Speaking of white people, let's see what the copper prices are right now. Not good. Not good, guys.
Oh, dang.
Not good. We're hurting. We're hurting. Sorry, white people. Sorry. Yeah, that you're gonna have to stock up on Sudafed now, because
really rob those construction sites.
Get in there now, because you're not going to have a lot of chance. So, fucking crazy. Fucking crazy.
White men are the progenitors of all issues, right?
All of them.
That's all we're saying is, if you understand history, right? Look back. You've created all the problems.
Yep. We have.
Right? But here's the good news. There's a unique opportunity going on in the United States right now to use that privilege that you've amassed over the centuries and undo some damage.
Yeah. Yep. Listen, I am, this might surprise some of you, but I am also a white man.
What?
Yeah, I know. Shocking. I recognize 100% that my contribution to this is not ideas. It is not to tell anybody how they need to do it. It is not, here's what I would do to be more successful in your community. That is not what white men do. What white men do is be like, yeah, we've kind of fucked this entire goddamn system. I have given myself the ability and power to speak out publicly and not be afraid of going home at night. So tell me what to say. Tell me what message needs to get out there that you're afraid to put out on your own because of the backlash and hate and possible unaliving that would come your way that won't come mine. And I'll say it. I'll do it. I'm not an ally, y'all. I'm an accomplice. I'm not an ally. I don't bring anything to the table other than my privilege. That's all I bring.
He has a tiny brain.
So fucking small. So small. Like Stegosaurus brain small. Tiny. And walnut.
I want to point this out because this is the truth. Again, this is the history major and the teacher in me coming out. White men, you're not, and I say privilege, right? I'm talking about societal privilege, but what you need to know throughout time, though, is unless you are the donor class, unless you are a billionaire, unless you have hundreds of millions of dollars, you are also being oppressed, right? The you are the first victims, as Bell Hooks, a genius black feminist, would say. You are the first victims of the patriarchy, right? When you were a child, you were indoctrinated into the patriarchy and abused, right? You learned the lesson. It is not okay for me to feel. It is not okay for me to cry. It is not okay for me to express my emotions. And when I do, I will be punished. There will be negative consequences for me in society. And then that shit rolls downhill, right? The patriarchy is all about someone punched me, so I'm punching on down, right? I mean, you are a victim of the patriarchy, not just the patriarchy, right? But of obscene wealth being concentrated at the top of the economy. There's a great book. Someone asked me what my reading list is. I'll give an example of a good book, The Wages of Whiteness. And it is about this exchange that was given, like the donor class, billionaires, people who were consolidating wealth at the top of the economy said, hey, in order to fool white men, right? So they don't notice we're robbing them too. Right. We're stealing from white men. They are slaves in a capitalistic economy, and we don't want them to notice. So in exchange, we're going to give them some privilege in society. We're going to pull them over less often, by the police. They'll get away with certain things. They'll feel important, but in reality, they are still being robbed. We are all in the same boat. If you don't have hundreds of millions of dollars, if you're not a Nepo baby who came from obscene wealth, we are all in the same boat, and we are being robbed by the same people. We need to give up on the culture wars, give up on ew, I don't understand why that woman likes other women, and recognize we are all being robbed. We need to focus our rage, our ire, and all of our energy towards dismantling this system that is oppressing all of us. This is about money. Who has your money? Trump told all of you it was brown immigrants. I'm telling you right now, money. The good thing about money is forensic audits. We can follow the money. I promise you, brown people don't have your money.
Yep.
The same people have all of our money.
Yep. This goes all the way back to fucking Bacon's Rebellion in the 17th century, right? Bacon's Rebellion was an uprising of the poor against the top 1% in Virginia. And how did they squash that rebellion? By convincing the poor white people that they were superior to the poor black people. So they did. And everything in the United States,
wages of whiteness,
everything in the United States has been built off of that fucking mindset. Everything. All right? Everything. And
feel special, white men, you're still being robbed. You're not temporarily disaffected millionaires. It's math. I can do statistical analysis. The only thing that's happened, and I've ran statistical analysis after statistical analysis since 1980, are huge transfers of wealth to the top of the economy. When Trump crashed the economy, what was it, 11 trillion that left our retirement accounts and moved?
Yep. Since the
Howard
inauguration
Netlick, the Commerce Secretary, is in long bonds. That's what Bill Ackman was pointing out. This guy who's all over the news saying, don't worry, Americans, while your 401ks disappear, this man is profiting off the downfall of the American economy.
Yep. That's the whole thing. That is the whole fucking thing. This idea that poor white people are superior to poor black people so that we don't focus on the top 1% being the problem, but the bottom 1% being the problem.
Or how special you feel, you're still being robbed.
You are. Yeah, you are. It's like Felice said. She used the tail end of my favorite quote. The biggest lie sold to the American worker is that you're not exploited labor, but a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. That's it.
You think billionaires are working hundreds of thousands of times harder than you?
No.
Let me let you in a little secret. You were told for years that communism's a bad word, that Marxism's a bad word. Let me help you. China is not a communist country.
Nope.
There's never been a
Never was.
Because guess what communism is depend on? No borders.
No borders.
They don't recognize governments.
Yep.
You know, the only type of communism that exists is in the Amazon rainforest. You know, communities who have truly never been touched by outside. It's communal
Indigenous
living,
cultures, yeah.
and it's 100% voluntary. The minute a dictator takes over, that's not communism. All communism is people working together. There's no money.
Right.
So there's no government. There's no there's none of that. So there's no borders. So just so you know, why would the American government and Western civilization demonize communism? And here's another word for you: Marxism. Do you know who Karl Marx was? Let me help you. He was just some philosopher who was trying to help workers' rights. He was into labor rights.
Yeah.
That's all he was ever doing. He was helping unions and was making some very astute observations about how, hey, you guys, I noticed we did the French Revolution because we were tired of kings and queens and being feudal serfs who worked until we died and handed all the surplus to them. And he's like, but the problem is, he's like, I was super excited about the French Revolution. It was about freedom and liberty and equality. But guess what? It never delivered. And now the kings and queens just go by another name: capitalists.
Yep.
Marxism spread faster than Christianity.
Yep.
That is why they had to demonize it. That is why you think that Venezuela is communist or socialist or whatever.
Yeah.
It is not. They had to demonize it because capitalists were like, hey, if people get wind of this, why isn't 1 unit of labor worth 1 unit of labor? I mean, has anyone ever wondered? Billionaires are not working 100,000 times harder than you.
Nope.
60% of this wealth in this country is now just inherited.
Yep.
It is passed on. We can never touch it. It is concentrated at the top of the economy.
Yep. The top 1% has convinced you that the bottom 1% is the problem. That's what it is. The top 1% has convinced you the bottom 1% is the problem. While they rob you blind. Rob you blind. No, we can't pay people more because that will destabilize our business and we won't be able to afford to stay in business any longer. All right. The top 1% has convinced you the bottom 1% is the problem. And unfortunately, a large portion, I wouldn't say a majority, but a large portion of this country believes it. Enough of y'all to continue to uphold a system that is robbing you blind as well. But hey.
Hilarious.
Hey, you know, at least you're owning the libs. You did it, guys. You won. I mean, yes, you're also
Pressing trans people. Congratulations.
Yeah. The boat that you're on is also sinking, but hey, at least you're causing the boat the libs are on to sink. We're on the same fucking boat, you idiots. This is insane.
This is how Donald Trump wants to order society. Like, this is what you need to think about. The society that Donald Trump has created says, if you have obscene wealth, then you have value as a human being. You have $5 million, then you can come to this country. Oh, hey, you have millions of dollars, then you're not a criminal. You can commit any crimes you want, then you can give me millions of dollars. I'll make that investigation go away. But if you're a poor person, those people are criminals.
Yep.
Oh, you have money, then you can have health care. Do you want to live in a society that is ordered and your value is stacked ranked by obscene wealth?
Yep. Insanity. Absolute. But hey, you know what? It's on purpose, though. The entire system has been set up to ensure that this doesn't change. And every single day that we wake up and continue to, you know, exuberantly, not even just exist, but like excitedly go out and exist in it, we uphold it. Obviously, the way that this society is set up, there isn't a way right now that everybody can just stop participating. There's not enough people that are willing to do it. to make any kind of effective change. There's just not. But you don't have to be fucking excited about it. You don't have to go out and be like, well, if I can't fucking stop it, I might as well contribute way more than I would any other fucking time. No. Like Felice said, stop buying shit you don't need. Stop getting a new iPhone every goddamn year. I promise you it hasn't changed that much. You're not missing out on anything fun. Nothing. Your iPhone 13 does the exact same shit. All right? Does the exact same shit. All right.
Don't buy new products, or if you buy them a year later. When a new iPhone comes out, do not buy that. Buy an old one.
Yeah. Buy an old one. It's just, we have to. So again, like, this all comes back to, what can I do? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to do? Like, seriously, sit with that question today. If you don't know what to do, sit with that question today. What are you willing to do? Look at your life, what you do day to day, and ask yourself, what am I willing to do to affect change? I keep telling you, it doesn't have to be a huge fucking gesture. It doesn't have to be this huge fucking thing that you do. Small changes in everybody's life makes big changes for everybody. That's it. That's it.
I think that's a great statement. And let me just help you. Like, it sounds like what we're saying is everyone make huge, painful changes that are going to upend your life. I promise you that's not it. That's not what it is. It's just, the more changes you make, the more you realize what you don't need. Like, I thought I needed to have a secure financial future, or I wouldn't be happy. I thought I needed all of these things. I thought I needed a house with a pool and 4 bedrooms, and I lived there alone in my late 20s. It turns out I don't need anything, and I'm healthier and happier than I was. But I didn't make all those changes like suddenly, right? It was just a process of educating myself and realizing like what mattered.
Yep. It's, like I said, it doesn't have to be huge, fucking monumental, painful changes. Stop contributing every day and start contributing once a week to the system. Don't go out to eat every fucking night. Go out to eat once a week or every other fucking day. Christ, if everybody did that shit. If everybody was like, nah, we're just not going to go out to eat on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Christ. Like, think about that. If 10 million people in this country are like, no, we're just not going out to eat on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're staying home. Christ. That would be like, holy fuck, what is happening on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Christ.
Turns out I love cooking. Yeah. And cooking's therapeutic, so you'll enjoy it. It'll be great. Or I would say this: look up mutual aid and mutual aid groups. Like, find a group of 10 people that if things get tough, let's say 60 JP Morgan perspective, 60% recession. I think Goldman Sachs just raised their perspectives to 45% chance of recession. Get 10 people together and say, hey, if and when there's a recession, we're going to engage in mutual aid together. We'll buy in bulk for cheaper prices. Well, we can car share, things of that nature. Just think how can I save money? And you might even enjoy it, building community. You never know.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be huge fucking monumental shakeups of your entire fucking life. Small changes made by everybody makes big changes for everybody. That's it. So start asking yourself, what am I willing to do? What am I willing to do? Nobody has a one size fits all answer. There just isn't. There is not a one size fits all. If we were a country of 10 people, then yeah, be like, all right, we're all doing this. And then we'd be able to do it. We're not. We're not that country. We are not that society. We're not that place. There isn't a one size fits all. There just isn't. So figure out what you're willing to do and do it. Stick to it. Seriously, just figure out what you're willing to do and do it. Who knows? Like Felice said, maybe you'll start meeting people that are like-minded with you and you'll build a community where you're like, oh man, I'm sad I've missed out on this for so fucking long.
100%. It turns out the most valuable things in life are free. I'll tell you what. Walking around parks or just walking 10 miles a day because I decided to not have a car because I realized no one in the world has a car. Why do I? It has caused me to get to know my neighbors, meet people, even my neighbors I don't like who have annoying Trump flags. It's like I've had more human interactions in the last 3-4 years that I've ever had in my life added together, which have been extremely valuable.
Been fun hanging out. I've been also doing work, but if y'all could give me the yeet,
I got you, my friend. Love you, Lainey.
Y'all. Nice hanging out with you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Walking starts out exhausting, but now it's my life. You know, there's scientific studies on it. I mean, you don't have to walk 10 miles a day like I do, but if you walk 15 minutes a day, it's the same as it's found in, you can look up these neurological studies. It's the same as an antidepressant. Every single measure on your physical will improve. I would highly suggest, it sounds awful to start out, but once you get into the habit of walking, it will change your mind. It's helped my mental health exponentially. Like I have diagnosed PTSD, CPTSD, and it has become a lifesaver for me.
Yeah. Yep. It's hi, Alice.
Hey, how you two? Been fascinated by the conversation for the last hour.
What's your thoughts?
No, I mean, I agree completely. I mean, it's going to be a mixture of I understand why people are asking for for guidance and stuff like that. But if you keep up to date with what's going on in the news, you'll find things to do. You'll find actions that you can take. I was just saying in the chat, like in Montana right now, you need to call your representatives if you care a little bit about human rights, because they're about to make it a felony, for example, for parents of trans children. It literally just broke. Erin just broke the news. So, there are things to do. But it does require for you to be uncomfortable. It requires you to go out there. It requires you to go protest. It requires you to not spend in certain places. I think it'll vary. Like, Matt, you brought it up. Like if Walmart's the only place that you have in your area to shop for your groceries, then you don't really have a choice. But there are other things you can do. There are other things. Like if you live in a place where you have multiple options, go at a mom and pop shop. That is probably your best bet. But it will require you to be a little uncomfortable if you can. And the ones that have privilege, I know you kind of hit white men, white cis men a lot earlier, but it's true. Like you won't face the same type of issues that we will if we're from any form of marginalized communities. Look at that. You can go to the bathroom in Florida without any issues, but there's this trans girl who just got arrested for washing her hands there.
Yep.
And she's about to face about maybe, I think, 50 something days in prison, and they're most likely going to put her with the men.
Right.
So if you're a cis person, you have some privileges that trans people don't. And there are other things. If you're a white person, you have privileges that someone of color won't. Like there's things like this that you can use but you're going to need to use that privilege.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And that's the thing. Like it's going to be white men using what we have given ourselves in society to better society. That's how it's going to change. Because again, and like Felisa said, it's been statistically proven that whatever you two say, most people aren't going to listen to. But if I say the exact same fucking thing, then I'll be like, oh, yeah, man, that's the truth. That's the truth right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
No shit, stupid.
Constantly.
Yeah.
How many times I've been debating on TikTok and have said something, and then a man I'm debating with says the exact same words, and like that MAGA person will be like, "Wow, that's really smart." I'm like, "Oh my fucking God."
I know. Yeah. I said it at the Iowa protest. I was like, I don't know why I'm here, other than the fact that this country won't listen to people talk or listen to a message unless it comes from a white man. So let me just reiterate what all of these women behind me have already said, so that you all listen for once. It's literally it. That's why white men are, that's what we can contribute. I'm not going to go into anybody's space and be like, I think this is how you escape oppression. No, motherfucker, because white men put you in oppression. I'm not going to, you know how to do it. You tell me what you need me to do, and I'm going to go do it. Right? My ideas got us into this fucking mess as a white man. Right? So I'm going to listen and learn from the lived experiences of the marginalized communities that are going through the shit that my community has put them through, to say, all right, this is how I can be most effective in combating what's going on. That's it. That's it.
If anyone wants to look it up or more information, it's called the gender credibility gap.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Period. Yeah. And that's it.
I mean, it is funny. It's unfortunately funny as well, because like Felice just said, like sometimes we do say these things as well, and you'll have someone, oh yeah, that's actually smart, and you're like, yeah, but you're not. When we release it, you don't. When we say these things, when we put content out there, you're not listening. But yeah, when you'll have someone else, like a cis white dude saying it, they'll get all the praise for it. Which, look, if you're going to listen, at least great, you're going to listen. But it's a little frustrating, because we can spend months, years, decades screaming about something and be ignored until some white dude says it.
Yep. I will always say, I don't have an original thought on this shit. I don't. I'm listening to people talk about it and not being listened to, and then be like, well, let me use what I, as a white man, have given myself in this society to amplify that message. That's it. That's all we need to do. That's all white men need to do. We don't have the answers to fix it, because we don't know what the problem is, because we are outside of the problem, because we've created the problem. We don't pay attention to how it's affecting other people in their day-to-day lives, because we've never had it affect us in our day-to-day lives. So to come in and say, if you do this, it'll fix everything, is fucking stupid. We don't know what it's going to take to fix it, other than the fact that we know that we need to speak up to fix it. But what we're saying, we don't get to come in and say, this is how you do it. I'm a white man. This is how we do it. This is how you do it. That's not, no. We sit down, we shut up, we listen, and we learn from the communities that are affected by the policies that we have put into place that affect them. And then we say, perfect, let me go say everything that you just said, but nobody's listening to you because you don't look like me. And eventually what's going to happen is people are going to be like, man, yeah, we've kind of fucked up a little bit, and we're going to start seeing fucking changes. That's it. That's it. But we don't have the answers. We have the privilege, and that's what we need to be using. Period.
And if someone wants to, like, an example of a recent thing like this, recently the Prime Minister of the UK announced that they're going to do anti-misogyny classes in their schools after he finally Keir Starmer watched the show Adolescence on Netflix, which is a good show. I'm going to give it that. It does address the radicalization of young boys through the manosphere and stuff like that, that's why it's good. But one, it's all from the perspective of the little kid who gets radicalized.
Yep.
And it's putting, the girl killed on the background. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm using some of the words that maybe TikTok won't like. But, and then, like, it took a show made by a man for men to pay attention, for people to start paying attention and think, oh, there's actually an issue with our young boys being radicalized. I mean, we've been screaming about the violence that we face as women in society, and yet we weren't being listened to, but it took a show to do that. Yeah, sorry, I'm not saying any spoilers, by the way. This is literally what, like, if you go look for a review on it, like it says this, right? So I'm not diving deep into the subject, by the way, if you're willing to watch that show.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, squirrel moment, but yes, that's absolutely it. It took a man to make a show on fucking Netflix, literally saying everything that everybody's been saying already, for people to be like, oh man, you know what? Yeah, we do need to do something about this. Wild. Fucking wild.
It's called Adolescence for those who want to know, and it's Adolescence on Netflix if you still have it. Otherwise, like, go find a streaming service that has that if you've already canceled your subscription. And the Prime Minister is Keir Starmer. He's the head of the Labour Party, which right now are running as Tory lights in the UK and are losing so much support because of this. But
yep.
I'm sorry, my dog lost his ball again.
Oh my God. There is one thing that I want to talk about before we wrap up today, and it's something that a lot of people are not really aware of. There's a long-standing tradition in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, that honors fallen soldiers with a very large display outside there. And it's called it's a Boots display, the Boots Display Memorial. And what it is those service members that, lost their lives during the global war on terror and whatnot, since 9/11, their family members can come out and put a boot out, and it'll have pictures of them on it and talk about their service and whatnot. And it's just this very humbling display of exactly the cost that was paid. I mean, to get nothing, essentially, but a good way to remember the sacrifice of them. And Fort Campbell has said that this will be the last year that they're going to do it. They're saying they're not going to do it anymore. This will be the last year. The reason that they're saying it's going to be the last year is because they don't have similar events for other Gold Star families of other conflicts, which seems like a pretty fucking simple fix. Just open it up to every fucking body. But instead of doing that, they'll just shut down the entire fucking thing. And so this is the last year that's there. If you would like to call and voice your concern about stopping this, right? About stopping this display, this memorial, you can look up the Fort Campbell Survivor Outreach Services Office, and you can give them a call. Because this doesn't seem like something that is a big deal to like the overall thing, but for service members' families who lost their loved ones overseas, something as simple as putting a boot out in a field with their picture on it is all that they have. That's what they have to remember their loved one by. So instead of expanding their Memorial Day boots display to encompass all veterans across all conflicts, they're just going to cancel it. And I think that's a shame. So if you want to, again, you can look up the Fort Campbell Survivor Outreach Services Office is what you can look up. And call them and be like, this is maybe don't cancel it, just expand it. You've got the space to do it. Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I've been there. All right. I know the type of space that you're working on. Yeah, Tara, I'll post the info in the Discord for it. But you can find it out there. And really just let them know that this is not how you support. This is not how you support your service members' sacrifice by canceling a display that honors them. Because you don't have one for similar Gold Star families and whatnot.
Trump's having a military parade on June 14th. Did you see that? And just so you know, he tried to do this during his first term.
He did, and they told him no.
Because it was projected to cost $98 million.
Yeah.
So I just want to be clear, while they're taking real displays and honoring actual veterans, and they're taking those things away, Trump will be wasting more of our tax dollars in some Kim Jong-un, North Korea-like insane military parade on June 14th. Who knows maybe we'll be in martial law then, so we won't even be able to comment on it, but
probably. Yeah. It is his birthday. That is his birthday. He's we're going to celebrate me by holding a military parade.
Someone who had bone spurs.
Yep. Who never served. Who took a Purple Heart that was given to him by a Vietnam vet, which I don't think he should have done that, but took that Purple Heart medal and said, I always wanted one of these. This was so much easier. Yep. People forget that shit. People forget that he said that. I always wanted one of these. This was so much easier. People forget he fucking said that.
It baffles me always to see, the right love to talk about the military and veterans and stuff like that, but then they cut military benefits, they cut healthcare, they don't take care of, the people that do work for the military. And I'm just, at what point, what do people need for people to realize that these people do not care about veterans, do not care about military service members?
Mm-hmm.
They're there to take to pretend like the valor that from people who do serve is their most important thing, but then they don't actually help them.
Yep. Yes. Because again, it's cheaper to bury a veteran than to care for one.
It's just a sickening thought.
Mm-hmm. Got to fraud, waste, and abuse. Got to save that money. Got to save that money, y'all. Richest nation in the fucking world. Got to save that money. Can't take care of veterans. Costs too much. Costs too much to take care of them. It's cheaper to bury them. Oh, and if you're a veteran that's speaking out against the administration, buckle up. We're in for a ride, y'all. We are in for a ride. We're in for a ride. This shit's about to get wild. This shit's about to get wild.
And I'm sitting here as someone who's like very anti-war, very progressive and all of this, but I want that care to be given. I want people to be taken care of. I really can't stand this. Like this whole thing. Mm-hmm. It's so freaking frustrating to watch this happen because I'm going, well, and then I'm seeing a lot of veterans do vote for this administration, do vote for people like that. And I'm just going, please wake up. Please wake up.
I saw somebody in the comments that said the VA is a joke and you know it. All my sister did was complain about how she couldn't get in to see a doctor. Yeah. Yeah. That was on purpose.
Oh my God, it's almost like your brain.
You're
Almost there.
You're almost
right
there.
Neighborhood, wrong address. So close.
You're so close, bud.
So far.
You are
Jesus
so
Christ.
close to the point.
give up. I literally give up.
Yep. You're so close. Keep going. Just walk a little bit further down the hall and you'll find the bathroom. Keep going. You're almost there. Don't shit your pants early. You're almost there. Fucking crazy. She couldn't get in to see a doctor. No shit, stupid. All right. Anyway, we are at our 3 hours. Alice, thanks for coming up and hanging out with us for the last 30 minutes or so. I always appreciate you. I always appreciate you. If you're not following Alice, two things. What the fuck's wrong with you? And second, fix it. Same thing with Felice. If you're not following Felice, fuck's wrong with you? And secondly, fix it. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us today. This was a tough conversation that we had today. There was a lot of hard truths today. It was uncomfortable. But it was important. We need
Change
to be aware.
and growth only happens when you're uncomfortable. I just
100%.
want to be clear. Like, that's what I say. We have this unique opportunity. Like, no, I wish none of this was happening. I wish Trump was not in power. But
Yes.
now that we all are, we have a unique opportunity to grow and change in this discomfort. So that's what I challenge everyone, right?
100%.
Like, who wants to spend the rest of their life being comfortable, never learning or growing? Like, now that we're all trapped here, let's get uncomfortable and let's grow.
Yep. Absolutely. So,
and thank you for having me here.
You're always welcome. All of you,
next week.
Both of you. You're always welcome here. Everybody that was up here today is always welcome here. I love the conversations and the input and learning from you all. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of your spaces as well.
Thanks, Matt.
It's nice to be here. So, and as long as I don't fuck it up, I hope I get to stay for a while. So, but I'm a white man, so, you know, we're going to keep fighting that every day. I can feel myself sabotage, be like, fuck it up. You know, you want to fuck it up. I don't.
If you want to follow someone in the live, I saw someone ask that. Just click on our profiles, right? Click on our names and it takes you to the profile and then you can follow.
100%.
A girl has no name with 2 Z's is my name pretty much all across the internet. And you can go to my link tree and follow me. Like right now I'm live on YouTube and Twitch. I do the People's Receipts Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 11:30 Pacific time, 2:30 Eastern. Join our crew, join the Discord. It's good times. It's a group of very intellectual people who love to learn and mock Trump endlessly.
100%. Alice, do you got anything?
No, honestly, no. I don't have much else. Yeah. I mean, I'm Alice Winterland, pretty much on everything. You'll see my face a little bit more on different groups as well. But yeah. Honestly, stay safe, be uncomfortable, do what you can, breathe.
100%. All right, I love you guys. I'm going to eat us at the same time. Here we go. You ready? Thanks for the conversation today, and we will see you all tomorrow. All right, bye, guys.